Speaking of blockbuster trades, we might have another one on the way. Potentially, by the time we finish recording this show, it may go down. It may go down tomorrow. It may go down never. We may get aliens before we get a Jaylen Brown trade. Who knows? But don't rule it out. And what's next for Jaylen Brown after the Celtics fallout after the Giannis trade? And what's the best fit for Jaylen Brown? So we can start off with the first question. What's next for Jaylen Brown? And I'm going to play a clip from Brad Stevens talking about Jaylen Brown. And then, Lee, the mic is yours. So let's hear from Brad Stevens.
You know, I'm never going to predict the future, but like every indication, everything that I think about is over the past few years has been building around those guys, right? And so obviously you never know. But at the same time, I think the one thing I want to make very clear is how valued he's always been. He's been amazing. He's been an amazing teammate, great person to be around. And you know, whether that run ends 10 years from now, when he retires or before, there's a lot to celebrate. And you know that we have a great relationship and an open relationship, where we talk about everything. And but I don't want to predict the future, but you know, I look at it as this is our team.
Lee, it's funny because as soon as I said that I want Mitchell Robinson back, I get an update from Sham saying that Mitchell Robinson is not expected to return to the Knicks. So we'll see how accurate that is. But let's stay on task here. Jaylen Brown, obviously you heard the comments from Brad Stevens. What's next for Jaylen Brown and the Celtics, and how do you think the Celtics played this?
Well, look. First of all, you know, Brad Stevens sounds like a politician, doesn't he? He's not going to come right out and say, "Oh yeah, we shopping Jaylen Brown," right? He's not going to come out and say that. He's going to skirt around it. We've had a great relationship over 10 years. When I think about it, I can't see it one without the other. Of course you can't, because he's on the team still, but you're shopping him every day. And trust me, Jaylen Brown will not be a Celtic this year. He's going to be moved. There is no doubt about that. Boston never, even though he had an MVP type season this year, they never, ever considered that to be Jaylen Brown's team. They never did, and they never will. That is Jason Tatum's team. I don't care any way you look at it. They're total sort of polar opposites of each other, right, Leo? You know, Brown, very, very highly intelligent, very analytical, thinks about things, not afraid to speak his mind. Jaylen Brown, Tatum's more reserved, family man, not going to rock the boat. He total opposites. And I think for business-wise, the Celtics have always favored Tatum, and they're going to continue to favor Tatum. So I think Brown is on his way out. He's on his way out. Now, you ask me if I was a GM of the Atlanta Hawks, first call I'll be making right there. Atlanta Hawks trying to get the hometown kid from Atlanta, the Atlanta metro area from Atlanta. I'd get Jaylen Brown down with the Hawks. The Hawks have good depth. They have good size. They have great players. They the only team that took the Knicks that really was a battle this playoff series. I would call immediately. It'd be my first call to try to pry Jaylen Brown from the Celtics. If I was the Dallas Mavericks, you have a lot of pieces. The Mavericks have a lot of talent, a lot of depth, a lot of size, which something that Boston needs. I would make the call over in the Western Conference. He would be somebody that I would be on. That Dallas, they have the cachet. And can you imagine pairing him with Kyrie Irving and Cooper Flagg? That'll be a tremendous entertaining team. Those are the two teams that really come to mind. But any team would be great with Jaylen Brown because he's that good of a star. But those two teams, I think if they got him, they make an immediate leap to the top of their conference as far as how they can play and what they would get. And they have the bench and the pieces along with draft picks to send to Boston for Jaylen Brown.
I want to talk about this situation before I talk about which fit I believe that he fits better on or who should make the deal and whatnot. If I'm the Celtics, I'm not trading Jaylen Brown. I'm not. And look, I'll defend Jaylen Brown to the cows come home. He's the most disrespected star, all-star in basketball.
I agree. I agree.
And the Celtics had him in trade talks for the last couple years in Kevin Durant and Giannis. And I could understand the Kevin Durant negotiations at that time. Brown was still adding layers to his game, still a little bit raw, still developing, and Kevin Durant was in his prime. Understandable. I understand why you didn't, why the trade didn't happen, why you inquired, whatever. Then the Giannis trade, right? The Giannis potential trade that fell through. And in some regards, I could understand it too. I could understand the fit with Giannis and Tatum. Obviously, Giannis will address the Celtics' biggest weakness, which is their inability to generate rim pressure. Obviously, ranking 27th in that department in paint points last season. So his paint presence would obviously give the Celtics even more spacing. So I understand that. With that being said, if you're going to add Jaylen Brown in the offer after he has a finals MVP to his name, after he has, he was an MVP candidate last season, his best season. If you're going to have him in trade talks, you have to pull the trigger. It's like a gangster show. They tell you in the gangster show, if you watch Power or Snowfall or The Wire, whatever, do not take out a gun if you're not going to use a daggone gun. And that's what the Celtics did. All right, they took out the gun and they didn't pull the trigger. By all means necessary, pull the trigger. Look at Brown. His market is better. You can't have him in trade rumors after he done won the finals MVP. Tatum didn't win that. Everybody want to talk about, oh, Tatum is better. He may have more skill. He may have more potential. But as of right now, I don't know if he's better than Jaylen Brown because accolades say otherwise. He was never in an MVP finalist, Jason Tatum. He didn't win a finals MVP. In them 4 quarters, where was Tatum? Nowhere to be found. It was Brown that was setting the pace. It was Brown that was a vocal leader. It was Brown that said, you know what? I'm going to have that Kobe mentality while this cat want to be all cute and finesse and all of that. Come on, bro. Save me with the nonsense. In what world is Tatum a significantly better player than Jaylen Brown? If anything,
don't disrespect Tatum. He's the first team All NBA type of guy, but I don't think they're that far off. I will say that, but
they definitely not far off. They definitely not fall off, but yet you constantly have this guy in trade talks. And again, I understand it to a certain extent, but in this case, in the Giannis case, if you're going to do it, there's no coming back like how you was able to come back after Kevin Durant. Jaylen Brown knew Kevin Durant was clearly a better player. So guess what? Although he may have been offended, it wasn't the be-all, end-all. They paid him. They gave him the largest contract in the NBA at that time, and everybody moved on. Guess what? They won a championship. He was a finals MVP. Now it's different. There's no coming back. And once you took out that gun, you should have pulled the trigger. So if I'm the front office, I'm literally using Tatum for good. I'm saying, you know what, Tatum, come out. Let's do a press conference. Let's do a PR campaign and come out and talk about why you love playing with Jaylen Brown and why y'all want to win another title together and why y'all should win it back and run it back. There's no reason why you should be trading Jaylen Brown. What the hell are you trading Jaylen Brown for? How does that make you better? There's no trade. And look, I have a couple trades in my mind that I feel would be solid value for a guy like Jaylen Brown, but does it make them better than where they were with Jaylen Brown? It doesn't. Not the trade that I have in my mind. It's a good trade, but at the end of the day, it doesn't make them better. So what's the point? If you're not going to make it, if it's not going to make you better, if it's going to make you the same or a step back, what's the point of it? So I'll talk about the trade that I have in my mind, but Lee, I said a lot there. I'm going to allow you to respond.
No, you said you made some good points, and let me say this: he's not that far off from Jason Tatum. You're right about that. I don't want to disrespect Tatum, but Tatum is a highly skilled basketball player. Like I said, multiple. They're
different. One is skilled. One is more athletic. One is more finesse. One has more dog. I mean, you cannot pick and choose what attributes you think is better than other attributes, just like the Jalen Brunson conversation. He may not be as skillful as SGA or Cade Cunningham, but he gets the job done. In the fourth quarter, you can count on him. He won a championship, so he won a finals MVP,
I agree. I agree. No, everything that you're saying is true. I just don't want to disrespect Jason Tatum because Jason Tatum is that man. He's
No,
just
you
a
still good.
quieter
You still
assassin.
that dude, too.
Now, like I said earlier, it you know, and I agree with you. There is no trade out there after you didn't get Giannis that's going to make you better.
That would have been the
Jaylen
only
Brown.
trade that they could have made if they pulled the trigger. That would have made them better, and I could agree with that.
Of a player that's available, right? There is no other trade. So, but when you hear some of the comments that Jaylen Brown is making, bro, he don't want to be there anymore, and that's okay. And Brad Stevenson know it. They're shopping him, and look, he hadn't come out and ruffled any more feathers. I'm sure they're keeping him abreast of the trade talks. And let me say this, Leo, when you get to be, so he's won a championship, right? He's won an finals MVP. When you get to be 27, 28, you want your own team. Remember, Kyrie wanted his own team. Him and LeBron had just won the championship, right? At some point, Kobe and Shaq could have won 3, 4, 5 more titles. But Kobe wanted his own team. He wanted his own team. So
Very good point.
It happens. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the maturity of an NBA player. We on the outside look at it and say, how could they just won a championship? They won all of these games. So again, what? It comes down to a mature 27, 28-year-old man who, look, has all the money, Leo, all the money he needs. He's been a champion, so he's checking the boxes off. He's been an MVP. He played at a MVP level this year, and he's saying, I just did this, won 61 games without Jason Tatum. I want my own team. If I was him, I would force my way to the Atlanta Hawks. It's home. You have a great nucleus around you, an ascending team. It would be great for the Hawks to pick up Jaylen Brown, and he would instantly be the face of the Hawks from that area. It would be everything that he's looking for. Now, they may have to give up 2, 3 draft picks, I don't know, and a few players, but there's no player that is untouchable for you getting Jaylen Brown back. That's what I would do. And if I was the Hawks, if you're listening to me, that's what you should do. And that would put you in the upper echelon levels of the Eastern Conference.
This is my last lap here in this topic. And look, you made very valid points when you talk about co-stars, the Kyrie Irving situation, just fresh off getting to a championship and winning a championship. I believe he did it after they won that championship, and winning out. Kobe and Shaq and even John Wall. I saw a podcast with him talking about this exact situation that we're talking now. And then he let the cat out the bag, talking about him and Bradley Beal didn't hang out off the court. They wasn't the closest and whatnot. We never knew that. You would have thought they were the best of friends at one point in time, but then there were rumors back then too. So, clearly the cat out the bag there. So, and obviously Jaylen Brown coming on the podcast. Go tell it on the podcast. It's these podcast people. It's these podcasts. I'm telling you, Draymond Green, yappity yap yap yap. Jaylen Brown, yappity yap yap yap. And I like Jaylen Brown, but come on, bro, you yapping. You go out there and you talk about this was your favorite season. Of course, they was going to run with that. But also, don't forget that Tatum was the one that proved that he wanted his own team. He was the one that offered an Achilles injury. He see what Brown is doing. He see the success Brown has, and he doesn't want to stay. He doesn't want to be second fiddle to that. He rushes his way back. They're the number 2 seed, bro. They good. They don't need you. And you rush your way back because guess what? Brown is intimidating you as well. So clearly you have 2 guys with egos, and now that leaves people to wonder if they want to play with each other. And it sucks because they did a lot of winning. They made a lot of Eastern Conference finals. They made the finals. They won the finals. They won a lot. They have a lot of playoff games under their belt, as a duo. But I will say this. You mentioned how Jaylen Brown should be forcing his way to Atlanta, and I get it. He's home. That's home for him. They have a good team. They the one that gave the Knicks the eye test, the Spurs gave them the best series of anyone. But, obviously we gentlemen sweep. We look at the end result. But the Hawks is the one that got 2 games on the Knicks. Nobody else did. Nobody else got 2 games. The Hawks won the most. Obviously, the way how they ended the regular season was in good terms. young nucleus over there. You got the kid Jalen Johnson over there. You can play with him. I get it. I won't even be opposed to that. But if I'm Jaylen Brown, I'm forcing my way to play with Victor Wembanyama. That's what I'm doing. I'm looking at that Spurs team, and clearly he was watching. Hey, you're not playing, right? You're watching from home. You see why they lost. You see that they didn't have another shot creator that can generate a bucket in the fourth quarter. Everybody was looking at everybody. You know, who was going to take me to the promised land? And guess what? That was the reason why they lost the series, because of the fourth quarter. They crumbled. Well, guess what, Jaylen Brown? You're the veteran. You're that veteran that been there before, that done it at the biggest stage, that won the finals MVP. You could be that missing piece. And if I'm the Spurs, I'm considering that too. I'm like, all right, you know what? If I could put together a package of maybe Vassell and
De'Aaron Fox. We don't want Vassell. We want Dylan Harper.
If I'm the Celtics, I want Vassell. If I'm the Celtics.
If I'm the Celtics,
but they might do Julian.
Dylan Harper and Cassell.
They might do Julian Champagnie and De'Aaron Fox. I don't know if I would take that if I'm the Celtics.
No,
right? I'm going with the next big thing. I'm doing what KD do. KD go for the wave, right? Whatever the next big wave is, he goes there. He went with Golden State. He went with Brooklyn. Whatever the next big wave, he goes there. Phoenix. If I'm Jaylen Brown, I'm going where the next big wave is. Do what De'Aaron Fox did. De'Aaron Fox said, you know what? Before Victor Wembanyama took off, I see something. I want to go play with that. I think
nobody's trading for De'Aaron Fox, though, Leo. Answer this question. Would you trade Dylan Harper and Castle for Jaylen Brown? That would be what you had to.
I would not do that if I'm the Spurs. I would do that in a heartbeat if I'm the Celtics.
Yeah, I would too. But that's what you would. Nobody wants De'Aaron Fox, and Vassell is a decent player. Nobody wants him. You would want the two key pieces of Castle and Harper, and I don't think the San Antonio.
But here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. The problem is, again, this is why when you take out the gun, you pull the trigger. The problem is the league saw this happen. They saw what just happened. You think the league didn't saw what just happened? How they bombed on the Giannis trade, Boston, and they know they're going to operate off a place of desperation.
Yeah.
And they're going to capitalize off of that. And we're going to come back and say, you know what? Wait, Jaylen Brown went for that? Only that? Yeah. I can see that coming. Again, there's no trade that, unless it's a couple players and whatnot, there's no trade that I believe that I'm going to come back on the show and be like, you know what? The other team won the trade.
Yeah, you can't get value for him, Leo. That's the whole thing. And you're right, because now everybody knows they're trying to trade him. They know this. And again, there's no trade out there that's going to yield a haul for the Celtics. That's
what I'm saying.
And going to take them to a level to where they're going to be.
And that's why I picked the trade that I picked, because, again, I think Brown should want to go there. And plus, I think the Celtics is not going to get proper value. So even if that trade happens, obviously the Spurs win that trade to me, then guess what? You know, that's probably going to happen. They're probably going to be the loser in the trade anyway, Boston. You just want to get, you know, Julian Champagnie obviously can knock down threes, playoff experience now. De'Aaron Fox, I know what we saw of him was a mess, but he's still a ball handler that if he gets his burst back, still can give you 20 a night, you know, on a good day. Hopefully, you know, obviously I understand people. I understand we saw the playoffs and it was terrible. I wouldn't do it. But I would say this, and I'm going to end here. I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't trade Brown. He's 3 years under contract. What am I trading him for?
Yeah.
But anyway, we are going to move on. And folks, I told you that it was a stacked show. It is. We are halfway through the show. We still got another half of the show to go. We might as well keep it moving. We are going to stop in the NFL, and we are going to talk about Brenden Sorsby, and I'm looking forward to talking about this topic. You know, obviously we did last week, but there's some new developments as the NFL cancels the supplementary draft, okay? And now we're going to talk about it right now. Can Sorsby change the narrative? And what do you think about the NFL canceling the supplementary draft? Lee, the mic is yours.
Yeah, you know, look. Nothing trumps the NFL shield, Leah. Nothing. And they weren't going to no matter what they said, and they talked about it wasn't significant enough and all that foolishness, nothing trumps the NFL Shield. And to allow Sorsby in with a supplemental draft says that they're condoning that gambling aspect of it from a player. The NFL wasn't going to do that. They're going to make him sit. They're going to make him sit. They're going to make him prove to them that not just his lawyer saying he went to rehab and all that. They're going to make him prove it to him, and he still may have a suspension. So, no, the NFL operates, that's the cardinal sin, right? And gambling is the cardinal sin. And they were not going to allow this person, Sorsby, to manipulate his way into the NFL after he caused all that turmoil in college. So, no, the Shield is more important than anything. They're always going to protect the integrity of the Shield. Plus, Lil, they're in the gambling business. So they certainly can't have one of their players, an important coming into the league that's an admitted gambler and gambling on his own team. So they're going to put him through a lot of hoops and hurdles. They're going to make him go to rehab and go to the counseling they want him to go to. They're probably going to suspend him, and they're going to make him prove not only to them, but to the general public that he shows regret, remorse, and then they might let him back in the league. But the NFL don't play with the Shield. And because they're in bed with gambling, they cannot have a player betting on their own team. I don't care if you didn't play. They can't have that, and they weren't not going to let him in. So that's what the NFL is all about. And that's what they do, bro. That's what they do.
So to my guy, Kenny, you missed a lot. We dived into the whole NBA. We're going to come back, obviously, into the NBA in a few. But salute to my guy, Kenny, for tapping in. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. Those of y'all watching, let's go. So, look, when it comes to Brenden Sorsby, right, obviously, you look at the situation. In order for him to fix his legacy, like the question say, or change his narrative, he has to stop playing victim.
Yeah.
That's step one. Stop it. Stop, my brother. Pause. Time out. Flag. Stop it, bro. Stop where you are right now and stop playing victim. Because we could talk about counseling for gambling. Whatever sounds good. But the reality is he made 90,000 bets. He needs to major in gambling counseling. Okay. He needs to pick up a major in college of gambling counseling, bro. 2 years, bro. Ain't no rinky dink, gambling session. Oh, okay, I'm done. I'm out. No. All right. Counseling is not accountability. It's not.
Yeah. He wanted to be rewarded, Lil. He wanted to be rewarded. That's what this whole thing
And
was
instead
about.
of him owning up to his decisions and his actions, he ran to a sympathetic judge, like what most of these guys do. When they get a ruling that they don't like, they go get a sympathetic judge to get an injunction. And then his agent has the nerve to bring Cincinnati into this mess. Talking about Cincinnati knew about his gambling addiction, and they hid it under the rug. What are you pointing fingers for? What does Cincinnati got to do with this? Why is the agent bringing Cincinnati into this? You're trying to bring down everybody in the burning building, and then he ditches for the supplementary draft after Texas Tech kind of got the heat on him and the backlash. Okay, I'm gonna try to get to the draft. And now he's not going to be able to get into the draft. And then now he's talking about the NFLPA potentially and suing them, or not suing them, but trying to get them to get him in. Like, no, stop playing victim. Stop pointing fingers. Stop saying Cincinnati was a part of this and this guy was a part of this. And my friend hit me up and asked me to parlay. Stop ratting. Okay. Can we stop snitching, please? All right. Look, the NFL is a forgiving league when it comes to domestic violence. It's a forgiving league when it comes to dog torture. Okay, L.I. Michael Vick, etc. But one thing the NFL isn't forgiving on is messing with the integrity of the game. And Sorsby did that, betting on his own team in college. That scared the hell out of the NFL. And if I'm the NFL, the only way I allow Sorsby back into my league next year is he's going to have to run a scared straight gambling program in the league. and say, you know what? Hey, I gambled my way out of $50 million. Don't follow my footsteps. If you ain't going on the Scared Straight tour as a counseling program, you know, whether it's in college or whether it's locally, you know, in other sports leagues and whatnot, I don't want you in my league, because you can talk about all the counseling you're doing. We don't even know. We don't even know how legitimate that is. Come on, save me with the nonsense. The NFL did the right thing here. And I think in order for Sorsby to change his narrative, it starts with stop playing victim and take accountability.
The one thing, and I'll close with this, you know, they talk about him suing, and they hope that the NFLPA takes up his case. Look, in the collective bargaining agreement, it's up to the NFL. It was collectively bargained that the NFL will decide on who and when and on the supplemental draft. Has no leg to stand on, and the PA is not going to get involved in that either, because it goes to the integrity of the game. And no one, not the NFLPA, not the NFL administration, not the players, want to have the illusion that a person or a player can affect the game by gambling outside of the game, and therefore affecting the games on Sunday, Mondays, and Thursdays. They don't want that. And with Sorsby, look, you can say what you want to say. I think he's going to have to do a lot as far as counseling that the NFL wants, and have it supervised by them and their doctors. And also, I still say it might be a suspension coming in the door for him, just to put an exclamation point on it, right? Because that's how the NFL operates. So you know, you won't hear from Mr. Sorsby for another year or so, and he better walk a clear and straight line, or he'll never get in the NFL.
This is my last point, and then we're going to move on. I don't know if the NFL does this. To my estimation, I don't know anything about this, but normally when you get a new job, you have to do like training, sexual harassment training, you know, cybersecurity training. I think that if you get drafted to the NFL, there should be a training like that where you get a tablet and you watch on why you shouldn't gamble.
Well, they do that the rookie symposium, Lil, they do all of that stuff, right? They do all of that stuff when they come into the league. They do it all. They talk about gambling. They talk about finance. They talk about all of that stuff. And they're doing it at the colleges now, too. So he has no leg to stand on. It's not like he didn't know that he shouldn't be gambling on college football. And he certainly knew he shouldn't be gambling on his own team. Quit pacifying these guys. They didn't pacify the 4 players from Alabama State that got caught point shaving and stuff. So quit. They didn't pacify the receiver in Atlanta. They kicked him off for placing a bet inside the facility. We're not going to pacify Sorsby. He was wrong. He tried to get away with it. 9,000 bets, $90,000. No, he gets what he deserves.
I agree.
Sports, politics, conspiracy theories. We are here to give you our unique perspectives on things happening in the world. It's the one and only The Real Lil on The Real Lil Show.